On to another conversation now. President Cyril Ramaphosa is this morning engaging with members of the media following his delivery of the ANC's January 8 statement in Mangaung on Sunday. He's now with our politics editor, Lukhanyo. Lukhanyo, good morning to you. The president yesterday, among the things that he touched on as being priority is the issue of crime in our country, and we speak on the back of the Vice-Chancellor in Fort Hare having been taken to a safe house, and he's actually put out a direct call to the President to say, please intervene. My life is under threat.
Oli, we heard of that very shocking story, over the course of the weekend, and obviously just trying to understand just what is happening. But I do have with me, of course, the President, and I'm sure he won't mind if I do bring that up with him. Mr. President, thank you so very much for joining. This is what we do at Newzroom Afrika, so we go. Mr. President, yesterday, just to start off with, there was obviously this attempted assassination of the Vice-Chancellor of Fort Hare University. He's since put out a public call asking for your assistance. Yesterday, as my colleague Luthuli House was pointing out, you spoke a lot about the issues of crime and how the ANC plans to use this next administration to tackle that issue head on. Can you start off with just getting your feelings on, this issue of the Vice President of Fort Hare?
Vice-Chancellor.
Vice-Chancellor, sorry, sir.
I know the Vice-Chancellor. I have met him each time I've been to Fort Hare. I've just spoken to the Minister earlier, and he briefed me about his discussions with the Vice-Chancellor. I'm going to be talking to him now when I finish this interview to pass on my condolences on the killing and assassination of his protector, and also commiserate with him about the challenges that he's facing. And it is a trying time, and I am going to be extending my support and my full assistance to him. The Minister is going to be going there on Wednesday to interact with him as well as to interact with other role players. This is a concerning matter because it happens on the back of investigations that are going on from the SIU or by the SIU, which indicates that there's much more that is happening at that institution that underlies precisely. That's unsavory, that underlies the challenges that he's going through. And one does not want to diminish the challenge that he's facing, but this is a problem that we are facing in a number of other institutions. And his is a special one, of course, which we need to be addressing. And we are going through the Minister of Police and the SIU and the Minister of Higher Education. We are going to be addressing this so that we can also give him the sense of comfort that he needs, but sense of comfort for the broader university community as well, that we are dealing with this matter.
Right. Thank you so very much for that, Mr. President. Yesterday you did touch on a number of things in the statement that you delivered. One of them being obviously the end to load shedding.
Yes.
It is a big concern for this country.
Of course.
One of the resolutions that was taken at the 55th National Conference was for ESCOM to be moved to the Department of Energy. How soon can we expect that resolution to be given effect?
Well, like all other resolutions, we need to look at them very closely, weigh up what the consequential issues would be. So whenever we take a resolution, it does not immediately mean, boom, in government, you then move everything. It's a clear indication and a clear mandate from our conference. So in government, we then need to look at the efficacy, the timing, and everything else. So the resolution will be implemented. It is just how we are able to rearrange things. Things in government tend to move very slowly. I've come to learn because you need to look at a whole number of things, from regulatory processes, legal processes. So the chain of what you need to, look at and put together is not easy.
So the transfer is going to take some time. But then the problem of ending load shedding, is that then also going to take some time? Because obviously small businesses are losing literally their businesses today because of load shedding. How soon can ordinary South Africans expect to have this problem of load shedding behind them?
Load shedding is with us right now, and we are addressing it actively on an ongoing basis. And it has to do with the operations of our power stations. Some of them are old, some of them need to be maintained. In the past there was a time when all maintenance stopped, where there seemed to have been an instruction, don't maintain anything, just keep the lights on.
Who would that instruction have come from, Mr. President?
Well, it was part of the whole system, government, Eskom and all that. And we are now reaping the horrible results of all that. And the delay in building power stations. It takes a long time to build power stations. And when Medupi and Kusile were then built, which are mega power stations, the intellectual property, the intellectual capability that used to reside in Eskom had left, because no power stations were being built, and a number of people had been in Eskom just to build power stations. So they left, they were employed elsewhere in the world, and when the power stations were built, we then relied on outside people, original equipment manufacturers, and that is why we have design flaws today, because it was not being properly monitored and project managed. So in the end, what I will be able to say is that load shedding is a national crisis. It is a problem for all South Africans, and it impacts, as I said yesterday, very, very negatively on businesses, on households, hospitals, and even food production is becoming a major, major challenge now. So we are dealing with it as urgently as we possibly can. The good thing that we should be pleased about is that the grid has not collapsed. Because that would be the worst Armageddon that we could ever have. The grid has not collapsed. We continue to address the load shedding problem. Sometimes it goes to 2, sometimes it goes to 4.
Sometimes it goes to 6.
Sometimes it goes to 6. And we're putting pressure on Eskom to address this problem. But yesterday I also said we should also resort to emergency power.
Is it only Eskom's problem to solve, though, Mr. President? Because Eskom didn't get there by themselves.
Yes.
Eskom was governed by the African National Congress for all of those years.
Yes.
And how much of the responsibility of the load shedding and the current crisis that we find ourselves in, and Eskom, does the African National Congress accept?
I mean, we can do blame shifting and say you're to blame and all that, but it's not going to solve the current problem.
But can the ANC then at least acknowledge that, Mr. President, as well as apologize to the people of the country for because clearly there was a failure to plan properly, which led to
I have said that repeatedly. I have said that, yes, we have weakened our own processes of making sure that Eskom and the electricity generation problem is properly managed. I have said it in public addresses, meetings, family meetings. I have said that. Right now, the time is not so much to focus on who's to blame. It's to say all of us must now put our shoulders behind the wheel and make sure that we solve this problem. And this is precisely the call I was also making yesterday, that let's all work together and solve these problems.
All right. Thanks for that, Mr. President. Let's move on. One of the other issues that you also addressed quite vociferously yesterday was the issue of the state of our municipalities, the neglect that they're in. I'm sure you must have been ashamed by the state of Mangaung.
Yes.
Mangaung is not the only one. We went to Botshabelo as well. I mean, some of the stuff that we saw there, Mr. President, is not fit for human beings to be able to live in. And that's all under the governance of the African National Congress.
For sure. I think many of our municipalities are dysfunctional. They're in a bad state of affairs, repairs, governance, and management. And we've acknowledged that. And that is why yesterday, much as I also focused on Mangaung, I did say to those who were gathering there that it goes beyond Mangaung. We need to be looking at how we reposition our municipalities. And our resolve is in place. Mangaung, as I said to the people of Botshabelo, is going to be put right. I mean, for me, possibly that's the starting point. But there are many others throughout the country. And I've given a very clear instruction to the department that I want that report and I want action to flow from that. And the problems are political, political infighting amongst our people, the management, the lack of skills, as well as the finance. A number of the municipalities don't even have a revenue base. The way we've configured our municipality architecture, we've given municipalities a responsibility to improve the lives of our people, but at the same time, they don't have the wherewithal. And that is why there were calls at the conference that we need to look at the financing of municipalities, and the equitable share architecture or configuration should be changed.
Two more things from me, Mr. President. When you look at the overall state, we've spoken about electricity, we've spoken about the state of our municipalities, we've spoken about the issues of crime. We can look at public transport. There's so many. Do you think that the African National Congress was ever ready to govern this country?
We were ready to govern. I was
happened?
the Secretary General when we adopted the Ready to Govern document. It was well received, applauded, and that was, if you like, the Bible that we used to commence our governing process from 1994. And that is what guided us, including the RDP, guided us to do phenomenally well by our people, to change their lives. And of course, along the way, we've admitted this in the past, along the way, we allowed state capture to divert us and to derail us. And the state was weakened. The skills that we had in the state either were pushed out or people just left or fled. And all those things we have admitted. And now we are in repair mode. We are rebuilding. The renewal process is not only about the renewal of the African National Congress. It's also renewal of the state. Of the state. And if anybody cares to look more carefully, you will see that we have been rebuilding. I mean, many of the state institutions had either been captured, they had either been weakened, and people who worked in those institutions were almost like hired guns. There were people who were there, put there to serve certain objectives. We're cleaning up. SARS was being diverted, and Treasury was almost captured as well. And so the rebuilding process is underway, and we are moving, and we may be moving slowly for many people's liking, but we are moving. And local government is now going to be put right, and many institutions that serve our people. Home Affairs was one of those that were also really in bad state. And we are changing things with a view of improving the lives of South Africans.
One of the issues, Mr. President, that is obviously quite crucial, you've spoken about state capture. We've spoken about, the NPA and corruption. One of the crucial things in South Africa is the issue of justice.
Yes.
Yesterday, former apartheid Deputy Minister of Police and Defense, Adrian Vlok, died.
Yes.
Now, Vlok was never held responsible for some of the crimes that he is alleged to have committed as an apartheid government.
Yeah.
Can you give me any comment about his death?
Well, Vlok was charged. He was found guilty for his attempted murder on Frank Chikani, and he was given a suspended sentence. That is how the justice system, in the end, deliberated and concluded on that matter.
That was one crime.
That was one crime. And of course, there are many other crimes that many other people still need to account for. And some of those have been taken up by families, and the state itself, the government rather, needs to continue taking those up. And the decision that has been taken is that we are going to be doing that, and the Ministry of Justice is looking at all that. So that process is also going to get underway rather. And we are not going to allow things to be swept under the carpet as the democratically elected government. So those processes will unfold. And obviously, as I said, the thing that I bemoan is that things take rather too long in government to happen. But they will. I mean, I look at, for instance, the crimes that were committed during the Second World War. There are people who are still being charged today. Being prosecuted and being sent to prison. And some of them may be 80 years old or whatever, but they are still being pursued. And similarly, it should be able to happen here as well, because the crimes that were committed were horrendous against our people, individuals, and known leaders of our movement were subjected to horrific crimes. So that will happen.
All right. So we should watch this space on a number of fronts.
Yes, please.
All right. We shall do so.
Yeah.
That is my conversation with President Cyril Ramaphosa, who, of course, is engaging the media today following his delivery of the African National Congress's January 8th statement. Oli, from us at Luthuli House, it's over to you guys in studio.
Thank you very much. That's our politics editor there in conversation with the president of the African National Congress and, by extension, the president of the country. And this is where we leave it for the Monday edition of Newsfeed AM.